Hey guys, my name is Lainey and I'm from Skowhegan, Maine. And one of the first things that we were asked to explain was what's interesting about ourselves. I'm going to do this a little bit differently because I'm really used to seeing that question, and I think that the typical response is kind of a cop-out because it's not a question that I think is really understood. When somebody says, what's interesting about yourself, I think the person automatically goes into a panic mode. People don't like being asked those kind of questions. They sit there going, what's interesting about me? What's interesting about me? They give you their favorite color and that they like to read. And I love to read, but how many people that say that really like to read? I think it's just like one of those things. Like, my favorite color is red, and I like to read, and I like to talk on the phone, and I like to hang out with my friends, and that makes me interesting. Well, good for you, because thousands of people in the world like to do that too. Okay, I just sounded a little bit rude. It was not intended to be rude. I was just making a point. Anyways, I think that what's interesting about you is a perspective thing. And I decided to go out and actually ask people that I thought might find me interesting what they thought was interesting. And it actually was really surprising. I'm going to have to go off camera for a second, sort of, to read a little bit of it. And it's not facts. It's like observation that I had to think about myself. So these are the reasons why I'm interesting. I'm interesting because I don't typically follow the norm. And apparently, though, simple things I'm naive about. And I used the example of, and this is a little stupid, when I first started driving, the engine light to me was a video game map. But I'm not stupid. Apparently, I understand larger concepts. It's just the small concepts of life that completely go over my head. I don't know why that's interesting, but apparently they think that's very interesting. Let's see. I'm interesting because I'm not the same, so kind of, again, somebody said that I don't follow the norm. I ask my friends if they're okay just because they're not as lively as usual. I think what they meant, though, is that I'm really intuitive. I do notice things. If I know somebody enough, or even if I don't know them, I pick up on things like that. You can text me and you might not even be texting any different, but to me, there's something different and I just know it. I sometimes know that there's something wrong with somebody before they know that there's something wrong with them. I don't know what that is. Oh, here's another one that's kind of, again, apparently different. I have a perspective on life that is both quirky and unorthodox. And I'm a character with drive, so apparently I'm getting compared to characters. I'm eccentric and easy to talk to. I kind of expected that somebody was going to say I was easy to talk to, though, because in middle school, back in the MySpace days, people that I didn't know, eventually sometimes I would know them, would just talk to me, and like maybe within 5 seconds, and I might be exaggerating, but I think it was like 5 seconds, I would know their whole life story. And I wouldn't tell them my whole life story. They just felt comfortable, and they even said sometimes that they had no idea why, that they were telling me their whole life story. And then I became like the online therapist, which was really funny because I never followed my own advice, but I gave some pretty good advice. So what I got from that is that apparently if you get to know me, that's the thing, if you don't know me, you're not going to see it. But I have a completely different way of thinking. I can't explain it. They didn't explain it, they just said it. But apparently to the people that know me, I just am different. And I just am interesting. And that works for me. I went to UMF for a semester, but I ended up having a complete mental breakdown that had crisis involved. And so I didn't stay very long after that happened. And I didn't join back for 2 years because now I'm here. And that's something that makes me really happy because I did it. I literally, one day recently, was like, I want to go back to school. And somebody said, well, then do it. With 2 weeks left to do the whole entire process, FAFSA, sign up for classes, everything. I did everything. Within 2 weeks, got accepted the day before the last orientation. I went to the last orientation and then got my classes, and then now I'm here. and I'm really happy because I'm absolutely just dedicated to sticking with it. And it took me 2 years, but it doesn't matter now because I think that in the long run this is going to make me the happiest to finally be back doing it. Well, the class is about trauma, so I do know quite a bit about post-traumatic stress disorder and other trauma-related illnesses anyways, because I did actually work as a behavioral health professional. But I think that the class will be useful. If I was in this class, I would learn a lot more about the triggers and the whys and everything. And I like to have better understanding of everybody. Also, in specific to like the sexual trauma, what I hope that we talk about is most people, they think of rape and molestation, anything by force, but I think that a lot of sexual trauma can come from a mental illness where the person then uses sexual promiscuity, so they're actually doing it on their own, like their own free will, and they're inflicting trauma on themselves, because it's almost like cutting. It's a self-harm. If you think about it, in the fact that to a lot of people, sex is a symbolic thing, and it does put a lot on somebody's mind. It's not just a bodily thing to everybody. And if they get into a state of mind and then they just go out and they allow themselves to be used, they're almost intentionally hurting themselves. Later on down the road, they're going to have trauma. They literally inflicted trauma on themselves through sex. So it's not just all about getting attacked and then having an avoidant personality with sex. So I'm hoping that we talk about that. I'm not actually in the mental health degree or program. I'm definitely thinking about it though. I had early childhood and I had special education listed before, but now I am a liberal arts major just to get the credits out of the way, the core credits. But I'm definitely thinking of going into the mental health field. I've already worked a little bit as a BHP, but I'd like to go more. I'm really interested in psychology. I have a lot of experience with it personally, and I'm not satisfied with how society looks at people with mental illness. I'm not even satisfied with our doctors at all. And I've had to experience it firsthand. I have been in a hospital. I've been put on various medications, not anymore, and I've dealt with crisis units. So I see how we need to improve on the system. And I have borderline personality disorder, and I'm going to just do a little diagram. People have branches. A lot of times with mental illnesses, they have like their main one. So here's this, like a diagram. Here's borderline personality. And then you have like anxiety, depression, things like that. So if you have anxiety, I'm sure there's a lot of people in our class that have anxiety, because a lot of people have a generalized anxiety disorder. So that's probably right here. You might have depression, and it stems down. Mine just happens to be borderline. And I think I should add, now that I've just thrown that out there, if you guys Google that, if anybody did, I'm not saying you did, I'm just saying if somebody throws out a term that you don't know, sometimes people look it up. Do not, please, read the first blog post you see that says that borderline people are manipulative and that they have no feelings. I'm not a sociopath. And it might say that borderline patients are the most difficult patients. That's just rude. Maybe people will learn about it in mental health class. I don't know, not this class. But I was just throwing that out there to not do that. Thank you. Okay, I think it's probably a little ridiculous that I've made 3 different endings to this video. It probably should not be this rehearsed, but that's the end of my video. I'm done. Goodbye, guys.